The Paris Agreement was an extraordinary milestone. It was one that, for so many of you here, took decades to achieve. But the feeling of satisfaction that comes with that milestone is tempered by the knowledge that those of us who have worked in this vineyard for a long time know that even as we mobilized on this issue, even as we advocated over so many years, even as we pointed to the science that motivated us and spurred our efforts, even as we negotiated in Paris, we were aware that with each passing day, the problem that we confronted and continue to confront was growing worse. Each day, the course that our planet is on has become more dangerous. And the alarming findings have only continued since the agreement was gavelled in. Recently, we learned that the last 2 months, July and August, were the hottest ever recorded on the planet. But they were the 14th and 15th consecutive record-setting months in a row. And we know now that last year contributed to the last decade that was the hottest decade in recorded history. And the decade before that was the second hottest decade in recorded history. And the decade before that, the third hottest decade in recorded history. So if ever anybody doubted science, all they have to do is watch, feel, sense what is happening in the world today. And make no mistake, anybody, these high temperatures are already having consequences. Already people dying in the heat. Already people moving because of lack of water. Already we have climate refugees on this planet. Already we see more powerful storm surges. Already we see lower productivity in many industries and serious impacts on public health and well-being. We know there are diseases that used to die because it got cold, and it doesn't get cold. We know that species are moving and that the ecosystem of the planet, including the oceans, is changing. The bottom line is that even as we come here to celebrate, and this is a celebration, the challenge remains pronounced. And while the world took an enormous step by approving the most ambitious, inclusive climate agreement in history, the next step, bringing that agreement into force, must quickly follow. We still have a window of time, according to scientists, to prevent the worst impacts of climate change from happening. We are, however, stuck with mitigation. And the task of keeping the warming below that magical 1.5, let alone 2 degrees centigrade, is an enormous challenge at this moment. But nobody comes here, I know you, nobody comes here to rest on our laurels. Adopting the Paris Agreement sent a remarkable signal to the world. And particularly, it was a signal to the private sector. I don't think any of us come here believing that any government, one government, or even governments coming together are actually going to be the ones who achieve this huge challenge of keeping the rise of temperature to 2 degrees centigrade. It's going to be some magician, some young entrepreneur, some kid in a basement, some genius who comes up with better battery storage or better solar panels that have greater efficiency and lower cost. The private sector is going to take the message we sent in Paris and invest, and we will find a solution to this challenge. I have no doubt about that. And governments around the world are acknowledging today, and this is the importance of this gathering, they are acknowledging the magnitude of this challenge and what it means to global security and what we need to do in every way possible in order to address it. I am confident we will bring this agreement into force this year, and that message will be underscored in bold and italicized ways. It will demonstrate to the world just how serious we are.